Hey everyone, and welcome to the ComaCast. It is April 20th. We are glad you are joining us for this episode. Today, we're going to be talking about a new vaccine potential for HIV, and it's coming on the heels of the technology used in the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines, plus some headlines. But here we are. It's the beginning of the week, Matt. I thought actually I was going to be getting my vaccine today, my second dose. Turns out it was delayed again. Delayed till Friday, so not too long. But we were all the way in line, and then we got a text message right before we were to get like actually in the line, because it was just like a lot of people trying to get there. We got the text message saying, "Oh, hey, it's been moved to Friday." We were like, "Oh." In one ways, this sucks, but in another, like, yay, because we didn't get stuck in that line. Because if we got stuck in the line, who knows if we could get out of the line until a certain point, because it was winding this whole weird way. But Friday, thankfully, get the second dose. I'm excited about that. I'm a little jealous, actually, everybody, because just right before this, Matt had donuts, and I saw the donut box on his desk, and my mouth was watering, and I was like, "Oh my god, can I reach through the screen and get a donut?"
I got new clothes from Aussie Bum, so I'm literally trying on swimwear while eating donuts, and I'm just so excited. It's the first day I've eaten today, and it's a little later in the day, but it's okay.
I love it because, I love taking beach photos in my little swimsuits while eating donuts. So I'm glad you were able to have little swimsuits and eat donuts in your kitchen.
I have not been to. I just want to go to like a gay friendly pool and wear cute. I've never done like wear cute little swimmies and just do that. And I don't want to do that on a public beach. I'd rather do that at like a friend's pool. We don't have a pool, hot tub. But here we are. And you would think
we have a hot tub,
but we don't have friends, and also pandemic. But anyway,
we have a hot tub, Matt. We have a hot tub. I'm just saying.
Also, I know we'll do a hot tub episode of the ComaCast. It'll be great.
I also here in San Diego, we have Black's Beach. You won't need your swimsuit, but there is that. It's very popular.
Noted.
Anything happening? How was the rest of your weekend?
Lot better. Crazy? So as the meds have worn mostly off, and my body is very, very slowly starting to somewhat return to normal. That's been really nice. I've been actually able to sleep. I mean, I normally go to sleep late because I work during the afternoons and evenings, but it's been nice to feel actually rested during the day and feel with it, not just kind of present, is what happens a lot. I mean, my burst of energy is usually enough to do the podcasts and recordings, and then I will usually have to go take a nap after or lay down or rest because my body is so just beat. But it's good. I got a lot of writing done, and which was nice. Good. It's all cathartic. and
you were mentioning on the Sunday show, our Sunday live show that we do each Sunday at 8:45 Pacific, that you have some people looking over your book right now.
One friend is she's almost done reading it. David has completed it. I have his notes. I was pretty sure what was confirmed, what needs to be added. So, but in the meantime, while they've been doing that, I had started writing book 2. So I think I'm 4,000 words into it, which,
oh my God, so crazy.
Starting the process all over again. I'm like,
I don't know how you do it.
And seeing 20, 25, 30, 40,000 words that I'd slowly built up in the first book, and then kind of almost being done. I probably got another 5,000 or 10,000 to add to that book. Not to the story. It is not story based. The story itself is done. More of environment and setting, just to make sure I wrote the story and then built the environment around that, because that's what I wanted to do. That was my personal preference and process of not knowing what the hell I'm doing. So I wanted my beta readers to focus on just the story, and then tell me what they thought. And it's pretty similar to the things I set aside, because I also didn't want to include too much information. Because me personally, nothing turns me off more reading when a book is so wordy and so overly descriptive, and it leaves me no room to imagine it myself. So I am very much less is more. So I've tentatively added words here and there. And so that's exciting. It's just when I clicked new document and started typing the new one, and because I had some ideas for it, and then started the process, and I went, 40,000 words. I'm like, oh God.
See, okay, I don't know how you do this because I remember when I was in school, I hated writing papers and I could not even, I would be like,
story and writing an academic paper is very different. I'm a really good academic writer because I'm trained to be so, but I rarely look at the word count. I only notice it usually when I save it at the end of I save it every probably 30 minutes just to be sure.
Yeah.
But I tell a whole section of what's happening in my head. And however many words, I don't think about, oh, this is too wordy, this is that. I basically rewrite each section, and then I go back through and tell that part of the story. So whatever I think is going to happen, I write what I want to happen, and then go backwards almost. And then I don't really get word counts. It just it just obviously builds up. I can't focus on word counts, or I will drive myself crazy.
See, I mean, if anyone's wondering why I never got into newspaper journalism, I hate writing. And TV, you write like 2 sentences, 1 sentence, 3 or 4 sentences, 1 sentence. That's all you do.
The irony that you hate reading and writing, but you have an entire blog, and we do an entire podcast off.
Well, see, I like writing short. I like writing short amounts and being on a screen. That's my thing. Yeah. Matt, do you ever lose anything? Do you lose things? Do you lose like your keys, your wallet, your phone?
This is a setup. I know this is a setup, and I don't know what it's for, but yeah, sometimes.
Well, maybe you need this. It was just announced today. Apple had their event today, and they finally. It's been a long time coming. Lots of rumors. It was a setup. There was lots of rumors about this, but it finally was announced. They're creating and will debuting air tags. They're similar to tiles, so if people know what a tile is, you can attach it to your keychain, put it in your wallet, whatever. And if you lose it, you can easily find it. But these air tags came out today. And they're going to be selling for $29, or you can get 4 of them for $100, and you'll be able to put them on anything you don't want to lose, or if you need to be able to find it. I think one of the cool things about it is crazy for Apple, but removable batteries. So you can replace the battery when the battery dies. They said the battery will last about a year. It's waterproof. And so then, of course, anybody who has an iPhone knows Find My. It used to be Find My Friends, but now it's just called Find My. And so you can, it's obviously where you can find your phone, your laptop, your iPad. And now you'll be able to find these AirTags, which is pretty cool. So like if you lose something, you'll be able to find it hopefully. And anybody who's walking by the item, so if you leave it in a park and someone's walking by with their iPhone, it'll like ping. And then hopefully you would be able to find it, which is kind of cool because so many people have iPhones that it uses a certain kind of technology that you should have a good blanket mass of where your item could be. And some people were worried that like someone could slip something in to your purse or your bag and like stalk you. But if it's not connected to your iPhone, it'll start chirping after a bit to let you know, hey, there's something going on. But I thought that was so exciting. I don't necessarily.
Yeah, so it was a total setup. I was like, what is he talking about? I didn't watch the Apple event today.
I haven't watched it either. I just know this news. I told Justin we would watch it together, but I did see that I saw a headline about that.
Oh, so you lied. Does Justin know that you have a leg up here? Can you hear this?
No. Oh my goodness. Matt is always like he'll text behind my back because I didn't know or I hadn't watched Beetlejuice. I just haven't. And next thing I know, it's on the screen and I'm like, what is that? Oh, you bought that? And he's like, yeah, Matt texted me. No, I knew about the AirTags are like they've been in lots of codes since like the fall for the iPhone.
That's really funny, actually.
People have thought that it was going to be coming, so it's finally coming. I think it'd be useful for some people. I always lose my phone though, and the thankful thing, my watch again, because everybody knows I love my watch. You can ping your phone, so if you lose your phone and it's just in your house or like fell on the couch or something, you can ping your phone and can find it. So,
oh god, that was funny. The Beetlejuice thing was very funny because I texted him, I think the next day, And he texted me back a screenshot. He goes, "My commitment to this is so serious. I just bought it." So I thought that was pretty funny.
He did buy it, but we haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I know.
Soon.
Yeah. I believe you. I believe you, Cody.
But I've been watching another show. I'll talk about that on Friday, but yeah.
Well,
so
go ahead.
I'll watch it soon, Matt. I'll watch it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get to some headlines. First up, it's raining men, Matt. Yep, that's right. Meteorologist has been fired over a Facebook post, and he is now suing the TV station for their anti-LGBTQ harassment and mistreatment. Sven Sundgaard alleges that he was mistreated, defamed, and prevented from speaking at LGBTQ events. Now, the station fired him for sharing a Facebook post about wearing a mask during the pandemic.
That was unexpected. Speaking of anti-LGBTQ people, Marjorie Taylor Greene wants a drag queen arrested and charged for being near children. Greene, of course, got her start in politics ranting about drag queen story hour programs.
Oh, gosh. An Oklahoma trans woman was denied a COVID vaccine because she had a, quote, mismatched ID. Now, the Logan County Health Department turned the woman away, but she was then able to get vaccinated the next day after the state health department stepped in after the LGBTQ advocacy group Freedom Arizona made them aware of what happened.
And at least 4 teens at one clinic in Arkansas have reportedly attempted suicide in the 2 weeks since the state banned gender-affirming healthcare for transgender minors.
And the GOP House members plan to start, get this, Matt, an Anglo-Saxon caucus. The lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are condemning Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, and Paul Gosar's Trump-worshipping group for its Anglo-Saxon political traditions. Now, the far-right Republican members of the U.S. House of Representatives were trying to start a new America First caucus that was to, quote, follow in the president's footsteps and was to include members who stand, quote, for uniquely Anglo-Saxon political traditions, whatever that means. And those are some of
that means. I think we all know what that means, and it looks a lot like this.
They shouldn't have put that in there, but they did. And those are some of your headlines. Okay, something that we didn't want to put in the headlines, but it's great news. Surprising for a lot of people, but thankfully it went down like this. But we had the verdict in the George Floyd death come down just today, right before this recording. And of course, the officer Derek Chauvin was the one who was on trial. And Matt, a great verdict.
Right. And unfortunately, it is a bit of a hollow victory in the sense, because George Floyd is no longer with us. But Derek Chauvin was convicted of murder and manslaughter in George Floyd's death. According to NBC News, he was convicted of second and third degree murder as well as second degree manslaughter.
Members of the jury, I understand you have a verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third degree murder perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m.
Now, second degree murder carries a max sentence of 40 years, third max of 25 years, and second degree manslaughter is up to 10 years. So obviously, he has not been sentenced. I'm sure he'll appeal. There was a third degree murder charge. It initially had been dismissed, but it was reinstated. An appeals court ruled in an unrelated case. It established new grounds for it days before jury selection started. So this wasn't mid-trial. It was before jury selection, before this trial got off the ground. And the panel did consist of 7 women and 5 men, and they began deliberating Monday, so yesterday, after 3 weeks of witness testimony. Just to remind you that on May 25th last year of 2020, Floyd passed away during an arrest where Derek Chauvin had kneeled on his neck for 9+ minutes. And Floyd, who was a black man, he was handcuffed and on the ground when this happened with Derek Chauvin in his neck. So, of course, the argument, Cody, was that the prosecution's argument was Chauvin's actions directly contributed to his death. Knowingly, there's lots of layers to this. It wasn't just that he reacted and threw him to the ground and he hit his head on the curb and passed. He was handcuffed, restrained, put on the ground, put a knee in his neck, and held there the entire time. And so there's, you have an ignorance to the well-being of the person that you are arresting, excessive force, all sorts of things. And of course he did die. So the prosecutor said, of course, this caused him to die from asphyxia or low oxygen from having his oxygen supply cut off. The defense's argument was that Floyd had a history of illegal drug use, and as well as a pre-existing heart condition. And they also said that they should not rule out theories such as like carbon monoxide exposure or poisoning, because they're the defense. The defense's job is to, no matter what their personal beliefs are, their job is to defend their client from anything. And so that is where we are right now. That is all the information that we have available. Sentencing has not even been announced or when it will be announced.
They just did come down with that. So the judge revoked the bail. Now Chauvin has been free this whole time. And so the judge revoked his bail right after the verdict. And he was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs. And the sentencing will begin in 8 weeks. So sentencing for the 3 counts, again, found guilty on 3 counts, sentencing will begin in 8 weeks. There was some, news coming out after that, of course, from family members and different things like that. And according to some press pool reports, George Floyd's brother was praying in the courtroom before the verdict was read. And then he said, I was just praying that they would find him guilty. He said this after the conviction. As an African-American, we usually never get justice.
I feel relieved today that I finally have the opportunity for hopefully getting some sleep. A lot of days that I prayed and I hoped and I was speaking everything into existence. I said, I have faith that he will be convicted.
So again, thankfully, justice was served in this case, because if anybody sees that video, it was definitely warranted. A statement from the governor, Tim Walz, says this is an important step forward for justice in Minnesota. George Floyd mattered. He was loved by his family and friends. An Attorney General, Keith Ellison, said in a press conference Tuesday afternoon, but that isn't why he mattered. He mattered because he was a human being, and there is no way that we can turn away from that reality. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are expected to speak this evening about the Chauvin conviction. So we'll have more about what they say coming up on Thursday's episode. And we are back, and today we are going to be talking about something that I think that's really exciting, actually, and it is the potential for there to be a HIV vaccine. I know, Matt, that we've talked about in the past the whole HIV and AIDS crisis and different topics that we've brought up and different people that we've talked about on the podcast in both seasons, and how that there's not like a lot of people who really understand what it was like back in the 80s, early 90s. It's kind of a whole new thing, and they don't understand the how bad it actually got.
Well, we had an administration that turned a blind eye to it. And I don't want to say it's like difficult to talk about, but because you and I were born in the mid 80s. So as we were kind of hitting, I remember being about 10 and really learning about what HIV was. And we were starting to come out of that time period because medications were starting to slowly become available. And I remember learning about it like very, very, very generally in science class, and then hearing adults talk about it and hearing more about it. And then that's kind of where my brain stopped learning, because I just didn't hear anything about it. My family never talked about it. And then, growing up, of course, coming out, and then it brought it right back to the forefront, because I realized how little I knew about what I was. So I started looking up, and I started just reading and researching. I went, oh, okay, well, I have more learning to do. But essentially we're missing an entire generation, of activists. And, a lot of the activists that Cody and I some of them we have not talked about yet. But but several of the older cases that we talk about, the missing person did have HIV, and they had gone missing or sick or not well, or maybe they didn't know it yet or was found later. I mean, it really runs the gamut. It was like this huge wide range as each time it came up, because even discussing it with somebody who has not been here for 30, 40 years, you still need to be respectful. And it's important to understand that in the time period that the victim may have lived in, they were not safe with their status. They may not have been able to disclose it, or disclosing it to their doctors and nurses, they refused to touch them. We've talked a little bit about how, as Princess Diana in this time, who used her name and encouraged people to hug and shake hands because she's like, people need it. And she was right. So, you had these really big names that we just had to take it for granted now that so many more people are aware, but there's still a lot of ignorance, even in our own community. I've definitely gotten some weird messages about, something we posted or something I've written about in the last couple of years. The lack of education is astounding. My own family is super ignorant. They have no idea. They're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, well, maybe read a book.
I mean, not helpful either, because like we've talked about, there's that whole bill in Arizona where they don't want to basically teach anything about HIV unless parents, sign away all this information. But yeah, HIV affects more than about 38 million people globally. It's known among the most difficult viruses actually to target with a vaccine because it constantly is evolving into different strains to evade the immune system, like a lot of viruses do, but it's just a really difficult one. Just in 2019, there was 700,000 people who died of AIDS-related causes, and that's a disease that is caused by HIV. There's about 1.7 million people who did contract HIV in 2019. But I think one of the exciting things is, and it just came out like in the last few days, is the talk of this technology that's used in the Moderna vaccines, this mRNA technology could be paired up with potential to create a vaccine for HIV. Now, the company Moderna says they're working to develop this vaccine along with 8 others for infectious diseases using the mRNA technology. Now, this vaccine that they've already been working on, and now they're going to pair with the mRNA technology, has shown success in stimulating production of rare immune cells needed to generate antibodies against the fast mutating virus. And then target the response was detected in about 97% of participants who received the vaccine. So that's pretty amazing. In the early trials that they've been doing, that 97% received those, you could detect the antibodies. And this mRNA technology specifically will help accelerate the pace of developing this vaccine that they've already been in the process of doing. And they actually have said they expect to begin 2 vaccine trials in humans by the end of just this year. So
right.
I think
this is what happens when the common I thought that was common knowledge. My sister was like, I didn't know that, because she was saying, oh, I have them inside all the time. I'm not going to have any immunity left.
Can you repeat that again? You cut out at the beginning, but cleared up.
From which part?
I think you're saying something about money or something about science being.
Oh, I said, well, that's what happens when money is able to be thrown at something. In the case of COVID, money was put to it from all around the world. Some of the world's top minds were all put together on it. And people think that all of this is always happening with all these diseases. And it's just not. It's just not happening because, well, why would it? Not to be conspiracy theorists, but,
Yeah. I think that's the big thing.
Funding is a real thing.
You put some money behind something like this, and you can definitely go somewhere. So I guess we'll see where this goes. Again, the 2 trials are going to be started by the end of this year. and we'll know for more information coming out, hopefully, later this year, as the more trials continue on. But I think positive news. People in the HIV research world are very excited about this, although they are cautious because it's been a long road already, a long road ahead. But they are excited about this
because
prospect.
Human trials still have to happen, and yes, when we get to human trials, that's promising. That's a really good thing. And obviously, technology moves faster now than it did 30 years ago. And of course, once one gets there, and the steps, it's like once the plan is there, the blueprint is there, then other companies can improve upon it and make it better. PrEP and PEP were things that have replaced so many of the cocktail drugs and made it into one from 10. So progress.
So, hey guys, we want to remind everyone that you can keep in touch with us on all of our social media channels, whether that is Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can do all of that at the ComaCast.
And we definitely love to interact and hear from all of our listeners. All of this is not possible without you guys.